Imagine walking into work on a Monday morning, coffee in hand. Your manager pulls you into a conference room and says your position has been eliminated. The reason? Artificial intelligence. But what if AI never actually replaced you? What if the real reason had nothing to do with technology at all? This is the AI washing layoff debate, and almost nobody is talking about it honestly. Let us start with the numbers, because the numbers tell a story that most headlines completely ignore. In 2025, United States companies announced more than 1.2 million job cuts. That is nearly double the total from the year before. Out of all those layoffs, artificial intelligence was cited as the reason for roughly 55,000 of them. That is just 4.5%. So while the media was running breathless headlines about robots stealing everyone's jobs, the actual data showed that over 95% of layoffs had absolutely nothing to do with AI at all. But here is where things get even more interesting. Even that 4.5% might be inflated. A Forrester research report published in January of this year found that many companies announcing AI-related layoffs did not actually have mature or vetted AI applications ready to fill those roles. In other words, they blamed AI for cuts that AI was not actually responsible for. Forrester called this AI washing, and the term has quickly become one of the defining phrases of this economic moment. So, what exactly is AI washing in the context of layoffs? It is when a company attributes financially motivated job cuts to artificial intelligence, even though the technology is not actually being used to replace those workers. Think of it as corporate rebranding for old-fashioned cost-cutting. Instead of admitting that the company overhired during the pandemic, or that the business model is struggling, or that leadership made poor strategic decisions, executives point to AI. And here is why that works so well. Saying we are restructuring because of AI sends a very different message to Wall Street than saying we are struggling and need to reduce headcount. One sounds like innovation, the other sounds like failure. A senior research fellow at the Brookings Institution put it plainly when she noted that saying layoffs were caused by AI is a very investor-friendly message, especially when the alternative might mean admitting the business is ailing, and investors love it. Share prices often rise after companies announce AI-driven efficiency measures, even when the AI part is mostly theater. Now let us look at who actually got caught doing this. Amazon is the most prominent example. The company slashed roughly 30,000 corporate jobs over the course of recent years. The CEO initially pointed to generative AI and AI agents as a means of reducing the workforce. But then he walked it back, clarifying that the cuts were not really AI-driven, at least not right now. He said the real goal was to reduce management layers and let engineers do their work without bureaucratic bloat. That kind of honesty is rare, and it stands in sharp contrast to the many other companies that wrapped their layoffs in AI branding and never corrected the record. UPS cut 30,000 jobs, but the bulk of those were tied to closing 93 buildings and severing logistics ties with a major partner. The company explicitly said AI was not the primary driver. Then, there is the case of a major semiconductor equipment maker that cut 1,700 jobs, despite reporting a 16% jump in net sales and a 19% increase in gross profit. Leadership said the cuts were about trimming bloat at a moment of strength. So the company is making more money than ever and still laying people off. AI had absolutely nothing to do with it. Now stay with me here, because what I am about to show you next is the single most damning piece of evidence in this entire debate. It completely exposes the gap between what companies say publicly and what they are willing to put on legal paperwork. In March of 2025, New York State gave employers the option to cite technological innovation or automation in legally required layoff notices. Out of 160 companies that filed those notices, including some of the same corporations that were publicly blaming AI for their cuts, not a single one checked that box. Not one. When it came time to put their AI claims on official legal paperwork, nobody was willing to do it. That tells you everything you need to know about how sincere those claims really are. Now, here is the part that genuinely affects real people. While AI washing is mostly corporate spin, AI is starting to have measurable effects on certain parts of the workforce. The impact is just not where most people think it is. Research from the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas found that total United States employment has grown roughly 2.5% since the launch of ChatGPT in late 2022. However, employment in computer systems design and related sectors has declined by 5%. And that decline is falling hardest on young workers. Stanford researchers found that the recent drop in employment in AI-exposed sectors is particularly pronounced for workers under 25. The issue is not that young people are being fired. It is that they are not being hired in the first place. Entry-level positions are quietly disappearing, not because AI is doing those jobs today, but because companies are betting that AI will be able to do them soon. This distinction matters enormously. Companies are laying off workers because of AI's potential, not its actual performance. Harvard Business Review published research based on a survey of over 1,000 global executives and found that when companies do make AI-related cuts, those decisions are almost entirely based on anticipation of what AI might eventually do, not what it is currently capable of doing. They are cutting jobs for a future that has not arrived yet and may not arrive on the timeline that executives are imagining. Forrester's forecasts back this up in striking detail. Their AI job impact forecast for the United States projects that only 6% of total jobs will be automated by 2030, which translates to about 10.4 million roles. That is significant, but it is a far cry from the apocalyptic narratives being pushed in boardrooms and earnings calls. Even more telling, Forrester predicts that over half of the layoffs attributed to AI will be quietly reversed as companies realize the operational challenges of replacing human talent prematurely. So companies are firing people now, claiming AI can handle the work, and then quietly rehiring when they discover that it cannot. That cycle damages trust in ways that go far beyond the balance sheet. And that is exactly what is happening right now. Employee trust is collapsing. A major global talent trends report found that employee concerns about AI-related job loss jumped from 28% in 2024 to 40% this year. 62% of employees feel that their leaders underestimate the emotional and psychological impact of AI on the workforce. When you tell someone they were replaced by a machine and it turns out that that was not true, you do not just lose their trust. You lose the trust of everyone who watched it happen. Remaining employees become skeptical, disengaged, and far less willing to support future AI adoption efforts. That is the deep irony of the whole situation. By using AI as an excuse for layoffs, companies may actually be making it harder to implement AI successfully down the road, because the very people they need to champion that technology no longer believe a word leadership says. Meanwhile, the pressure is not going away. Nearly 60% of hiring managers surveyed said they plan to conduct layoffs in 2026, with AI or automation being the most frequently cited reason. But only 9% of those same managers said AI has fully replaced certain roles at their companies. 45% said it has only partially reduced the need for new hires, and nearly 60% admitted they emphasize AI's role in cutting jobs because it is viewed more favorably than admitting to financial constraints. One management professor described AI as the least bad reason companies can use when announcing layoffs. If you blame tariffs, you risk political backlash. If you blame leadership mistakes, the stock drops. But if you blame AI, you sound like you are on the cutting edge of innovation. So where does this leave you? Whether you are currently employed, actively job searching, or just trying to understand what is happening in the labor market, here is what the data actually supports. AI is real. Its impact on the workforce is real. But it is slower, more uneven, and far more nuanced than the headlines suggest. The jobs most at risk right now are entry-level positions in customer service, data entry, basic administration, and routine content creation. The jobs least at risk require complex decision-making, relationship building, creative problem-solving, and deep domain expertise that comes from years of hands-on experience. If you are early in your career, the smartest move you can make is to build skills that complement AI rather than compete with it. Learn how to work alongside these tools. Understand what they can and cannot do. Develop the kind of judgment and adaptability that no algorithm can replicate. And do not let a layoff announcement make you believe that your skills are obsolete just because a CEO needed a convenient story for investors. The AI washing debate is not just about corporate spin, it is about honesty, accountability, and the real human cost of using technology as a scapegoat. The companies that will thrive in the age of AI are the ones that tell the truth about what the technology can actually do, invest in their people alongside their algorithms, and treat their workforce as a partner in transformation rather than an expense to be eliminated. The future of work is not about humans versus machines. It never was. It is about whether we are honest enough to separate facts from fear and brave enough to demand better from the companies that shape our lives. Drop a comment and tell me, have you seen AI washing at your company or in your industry? I genuinely want to hear those stories. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe because this channel breaks down what is actually happening with AI and the economy, not what someone is trying to sell you. And tap the next video on screen because it goes deeper into exactly which jobs are actually changing right now and which ones are safer than you think.